Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicidad Oliveros, and I am here to present about the history of Italian literature, and I will also discuss who are the authors and writers at that time. The history of Italian literature properly begins toward the end of the Middle Ages. It was then that writers began to abandon Latin as the language of literature and write in one of the Italian dialects used in common speech. So the Italian literature represents the rich culture of the country and depicts the future heroic legends that live in the country for ages. The literary language of Italy was Latin before the 13th century. The chronicles, the historical poems, and the religious poems written in that era were all in Latin. So it is devoted to the analysis of the numerous contributions on political history in Italy published after 1945. So it focuses attention on some specific actors, problems, and events, particularly the impact of fascism and post-war Italian politics. So the evolution of the Italian Communist Party, the rule of the Christian Democrats, and the debate on the Italian identity in order to provide an evolution. So the main part of the Italian literature is that it is often depicted on the form of plays, theaters, and movies, so which try to promote the Italian culture in general and literature in particular. So next we have the geography of the Italy. Italy is a Mediterranean country located in southern Europe. It is bordered by the Adriatic Sea on the east coast, the Tyrrhenian Sea on the west or Mediterranean coast, and the Ionian Sea to the south. In the north, Italy is bordered by the countries of France, Switzerland, Australia, and Slovenia. So Italy is known for its Mediterranean climate, which is found mainly on the coast. Inland, it is generally cooler and weather, but usually hotter during the summer. Southern Italy has a hot and mostly dry climate, while the north has more of an alpine climate, so getting lots of snow in winter. So next we have the religion. The major religion in Italy is Roman Catholicism. This is not surprising, as Vatican City, located in the heart of Rome, is the hub of Roman Catholicism and where is the Pope resides. So Roman Catholics and other Christians make up 80% of the population, though only one-third of those are practicing Catholics. So although Italy is very diverse from a culture standpoint, the country is fairly homogeneous both linguistically. So the majority of the population speaks Italian and religiously. As Roman Catholicism is the religious faith of choice for nearly 90% of the Italian population. So the Italian constitution provides for freedom of religion, and the government is taught to respect that right in practice, not tolerating its abuse. So either by government or private action, there is no state religion of Italy. So, and although the Constitution prohibits state support for private schools, and the Catholic Church does enjoy some privileges stemming from its sovereign status and its historical authority, which is not applicable other faiths. So, Roman Catholicism has played an enormous role in Italy's history and continues to dominate as the most prominent faith in the country today. So, in the following section, we will take a closer look at Catholicism as it relates to Italy, rather. So, this section is divided into three parts, from the early beginnings of Christianity through the 15th century, from the 16th century to roughly the end of the 18th century, and the last one is and from the 19th century to the present. So next we have the authors and writers. First is Niccolò Machiavelli, Dante Alighieri, Michelangelo, Luigi Pirandello, and the fifth is the Umberto Eco. And sixth is the Giacomo Casanova. Next is Giovanni Boccaccio. Next is Publius Ovidius Naso, Francisco Pichardt, and the last one is Giordano Bruno. So first is Niccolò Machiavelli. So he was born in May 1469.
in the Florence, Italy. He died also in June 22, 1527. He was an Italian politician, historian, and a philosopher who is widely known as a father of modern political theory. He was also believed that the end or the intention behind any action justifies the action. So the title of his famous works is The Prince, and the themes is the religious. Next, we have Dante Alighieri. He was born in 1265 AD in Florence, Italy. He died also in September 14, 1321. He was an Italian writer, poet, and philosopher and political thinker. He is considered the father of the Italian language. He played a crucial role in establishing the Italian literature. He also received an awards of Collectors, Vision International Art, International Prize, and Ambassador of Art. And the title of his famous works is The Divine Comedy, and the themes is the morality and the divine justice. Next, we have Michelangelo, who Michelangelo was born on March 6, 1475 in Capris, Michelangelo, Italy. So he was died in February 18, 1564. So Michelangelo was a prominent figure of the High Renaissance, Italian sculptor, painter, architect, and poet. He is widely regarded as the greatest artist of his age and one of the greatest artists of all time. He was equally revered and respected as an architect. So Michelangelo was born during the period of French invasion when Italy was divided into four rival states and was ruled by other stronger governments of over the rest of Europe. So he commenced his elementary education at the age of 7 and studied grammar, rhetoric, as well as the Latin. And also he received an award in 1960, winner George Prize in 1967, winner Palme d'Or. And the title of his famous works is the Medici Chapel and the Laurentian Library, and the themes is religious. Next, we have Luigi Pirandello. He was born June 28, 1867, in Agrigento, Italy. He died in December 30, 1936. He was an Italian novelist, short story writer, poet, and dramatist. Best remembered for his plays, Pirandello was honored with the prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature in 1334. So in 1963, Obie Award for Best Production, and the themes is love. So next we have Umberto Eco. So he was born on January 5, 1932, in Alessandria, Italy. He died also in February 19, 2016. He was an Italian novelist. Umberto is the best remembered for his novels The Name of the Rose and The Focus Pendulum. He also taught at the University of Bologna and had released quite a few children's books and translations. He was also known for his work on semiotics and medieval studies. And his rewards in the year of 1981, Scribner Prize in 1985, Audrey des Arts et des Lettres. In 1982 is Rex Medicis is Danger. And the title of his famous works is The Name of Rose and the theme is Love. Next is Giacomo Casanova. He was born in April 2, 1725 in Venice, Italy. He was died in June 4, 1798. He also befriended the European reality and church authorities and was quite fond of gambling. So he was an adventurer, writer, and a spy born in 18th century Venice. So he was received an award in the year of 2015, tribute to the Violae Venetia and Giulia. So the title of his famous works is Jacques Casanova di Sangue. Next we have Giovanni Boccaccio. Giovanni Boccaccio was born on June 16, 1313 in Certaldo, Italy. So he died in September 21, 1375. He was a famed Italian writer and a poet. He is also remembered as one important figure of Renaissance humanism. His works have inspired many renowned writers and poets, including the likes of Chaucer and Shakespeare. So the title of his famous works is the Decameron, and the themes is love, religion, and then the suffering. So next we have Publius Ovidius Naso. He was born in March 4300s. Birthplace is Solmo, Italy, Roman Republic. He was considered to be one of the most influential poets of the Western literary tradition. He was an Italian writer, poet, responded of Petrarch, and important Renaissance humanism. So Boccaccio wrote a number of notable works, including the Decameron and Famous Woman. He also received also the famous works rather, the Metamorphoses and the themes is life and love. Next we have Francisco Petrarch. He was also known Italian scholar and poet during the early Italian Renaissance. So he was born July 20, 1304 and Arezzo, Italy, and he died also in July 19, 1374. So Francisco Petrarch was one of the earliest humanists and was also incredibly one of the most influential poets in the world literature and has been right with them as the father of the Renaissance humanism. And he was also received an award of Petrarch Prize. The title of the famous works rather is Canzoniere, and the themes is unrequited love and regret. Next is Giordano Bruno. He was born in July 20, 1304 in 1548 in Nola, Italy. He died in February 17, 1600s. He was an Italian philosopher, friar, mathematician, cosmological theorist, poet, and hermetic occultist. He was a 16th century freethinker from Italy who was burned alive at the stake after being convicted of heresy by the Roman Inquisition. So the title of his famous work is the Ash Wednesday Supper, 1584, and the theme is religion. So next, we have the poem about the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. So here it is, and after that, I will show you a short movie about also
The Divine Comedy is a literary work of Dante Alighieri about a journey of himself towards God. It has three parts: Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. Each part consists of 33 cantos. Such division reflects the medieval theology specific to Christianity. The purpose of Dante's Divine Comedy was to show people the horrors their souls would go through if they did not obey God's laws.
In this story, Dante was lost in the forest, confused and does not know how he got there. In the forest, he sees a mountain nearby and tries to climb it, but his path is blocked by a lion, a leopard, and a wolf. A spirit of Virgil, an ancient Roman poet whose major work is titled Aeneid, comes to help him get through this obstacle and lead him through Inferno and Purgatorio to heaven.
Virgil is a brave and courageous soul. He represents human reason and wisdom acquired throughout the ages. On their journey through Inferno they meet many beasts and scary creatures, but Virgil stands up to each and every one of them. He is also incredibly smart and intelligent. He can trick any creature into helping them because he is a gifted speaker. He is a good friend as he supports Dante and comforts him when he feels scared or uneasy about the challenges he faces throughout Inferno and Purgatorio. Virgil understands that Dante and his fate are dependent on him. Despite this, he is fair to Dante, scolds him when he gets too soft, and pities the sinners a little too much. He encourages him to be strong and brave. Virgil was sent to help Dante by Beatrice, his beloved. Her character was inspired by a real woman, also named Beatrice, whom Dante met when he was a child and instantly fell in love with. Unfortunately, she died when she was only 25. Dante wrote many beautiful poems dedicated to her, praising her beauty and love. Dante and Virgil approach the entrance to Inferno and see a group of souls whose fate will later be determined, as it is not clear whether there is more bad or good they have committed. In order to get to hell, one must cross the river Acheron. Charon is an old man who takes souls across the river. He is hesitant to transport Dante at first, because, technically he is still alive, but Virgil convinces him to do so anyway, because Dante's journey is overseen by God. When they enter Inferno, they see an inscription on its gate. The first circle consists not of sinners, but people who are not baptized, either they lived before Christ when baptism had not yet spread, or they never got baptized. They reside in a castle with 7 gates, symbols of the 7 virtues. Technically, it is an inferior form of heaven where pagans are stuck and punished for eternity. Here, Dante and Virgil meet many Greek and Roman philosophers, poets, and artists, such as Homer, Ovid, Socrates, Cicero, and even Julius Caesar. The second circle is lust. The second circle has a more traditional appearance of hell. It is dark, full of screaming noises, and suffering. Near the entrance to the second circle stands Minos, a huge beast who decides where souls should be sent for torment. The second circle holds people who were lustful throughout their lives. They are punished by strong winds blown over them, throwing them back and forth. These winds symbolize the restlessness and instability of people guilty of lust. Dante and Virgil notice many people of Greek and Roman antiquity, mythology, and history such as Cleopatra, Tristan, and Helen of Troy. Among other sinners punished for lust, they meet the souls of Paolo and Francesca da Rimini, a couple condemned to hell for their adultery and numerous love affairs. The third circle of Inferno is gluttony. In the third circle of hell, Dante and Virgil encounter souls whose sin is gluttony. A worm monster, Cerberus, watches over them. They are punished with icy, slushy rain that pours all over them without stopping. They are not permitted to stand, so the slushy water covers their entire body as they lie. The slushy rain is a symbol of personal destruction and the inability to stop eating. People who are in this circle of inferno have weak will and cannot resist the earthly pleasures of indulgence food and drinks. Here, the protagonist meets the soul Ciacco, his political opponent from Florence. The fourth circle is greed. The fourth circle of Dante's Inferno is guarded by Pluto, a Roman god of the underworld who is also regarded as the god of wealth. Here, the sinners are divided into 2 groups, those who hoarded their possessions, and those who spent sumptuously. Their punishment is to push very heavy weights up a mountain, mostly boulders, which symbolize their lust for never-ending money and possessions. There, Dante recognizes many people he is familiar with, such as clergymen, popes, and cardinals, all of whom have been greedy throughout their lifetime. The fifth circle is anger. In this circle of hell, Dante and Virgil encounter people who are guilty of wrath and fury. Those found guilty of being angry and impatient are immersed in the river Styx, or simply are forced to fight among each other on its surface. They gurgle the water of the river, struggle, and drown. The water is made up of a black toxic liquid and they are left there to suffer. Dante encounters another political enemy of his, Filippo Argenti, who confiscated his possessions when he was banished from Florence. He tries to climb up into a boat, but gets pushed away. Phlegyas is the boatman who helps Dante and Virgil get across this river. They are stopped by a group of fallen angels. Furies threatens to summon Medusa so that she can turn Dante into stone, because he does not belong in the world of the dead. An angel arrives and opens the gate for them before Medusa is able to get to them. The sixth circle is heresy. The sixth circle of Inferno is for heretics, people who have contrary opinions to Christian beliefs. There, they lie in tombs that burn them alive. Dante talks with Farinata degli Uberti, a political leader and his contemporary, who did not believe in God. He also sees Epicurus, Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II, and Pope Anastasius II. The seventh circle is violence. The passage to the seventh circle is blocked by a minotaur half man, half bull. Virgil insults him, and the minotaur bursts into a violent outrage, letting Dante and Virgil sneak past him. The seventh circle of hell of Dante's Inferno is divided into 3 rings. Nescius is a centaur who carries the protagonist through the first ring. In this circle, they see a forest inhabited by harpies, mythological creatures with birds' bodies and women's heads. Dante tears off a branch from a tree that shrieks in horror and pain. The tree turns out to be the soul of Pier della Vigna. He ended his life because he was accused of conspiracy against the emperor. They blinded him for treason and threw him into jail where he killed himself. He explains that all the souls who commit suicide are kept in the seventh circle and become trees. There, their leaves are eaten by harpies, which cause the trees a lot of pain. In order to get from the seventh to the eighth circle of Inferno, Virgil and Dante get help from Geryon, a giant monster of the fraud. He has a dragon-like body and wings, the paws of a lion, and a human face. The eighth circle is fraud. This circle is divided up into 10 balgias, ditches with bridges between them, that are placed around a circular well. Malakota is the leader who guards the entrance to the eighth circle of hell. He lies and deceives both the poet and Virgil by telling them that there are bridges in this circle, and that they have nothing to worry about. Nonetheless, their path is very dangerous. Each balgia has different kinds of people whose sin is fraud. They encounter panderers, seducers, sorcerers, false prophets, corrupt politicians, hypocrites, thieves, evil counselors and advisors, alchemists, counterfeits, and perjurers. Pope Boniface VIII, Dante's political enemy, is among the sinners they meet in this circle. In the journey from the 8th to the 9th of Dante's Inferno circles of hell, they get help from Antaeus, a giant who carries them down the well, which is the path to the 9th, and final circle of hell. The 9th circle is treachery. This circle is made up of a lake, Cocytus. The sinners here are submerged in ice, only their heads stick out. Dante sees Bacca degli Abati, a Florentine trader, who is so ashamed of his sins, he does not want to tell Dante his name, at first. As Dante and Virgil proceed through the lake, they see the giant figure of Lucifer, also stuck in ice. Lucifer is the prince of hell. He has 3 mouths, and in each of them he holds a sinner, Judas, Brutus, and Cassius. In order to get out of Inferno, Dante and Virgil must climb Lucifer's body. They manage to crawl out of the hole and find themselves on an island where they see a lot of bright stars, an empty purgatory. In purgatory, they have 7 terraces to journey through. Before they enter, an angel puts 7 P's on Dante's forehead. They correspond to the 7 deadly sins. The angel says that every time a terrace of a sin is surpassed, a P will be removed. The first terrace is of pride. There, Dante and Virgil see penitents carry heavy weights up the mountain of humility to cure them of their pride. The second terrace is dedicated to envy. The envious penitents there are treated by having their eyelids sewn shut with iron wire. Voices shout examples of punished envy to intensify the effect. The third terrace has to do with wrath. The penitents here are treated with black smoke that gets into their eyes and makes them blind. The fourth terrace is slothful. They are punished by running without stopping, or any rest. On the fifth terrace, they punish greedy and avaricious souls. The punished are tied by their feet and arms, face down on the ground. In order to rid themselves of these sins, they must shout examples of poverty and generosity. The sixth terrace is dedicated to gluttony. Here, penitents clean their souls by experiencing extreme hunger and thirst. The seventh and final terrace is of lust, where the penitents walk in flames and shout out examples of chastity. Last P is removed by the angel. Although, in order to proceed, he must go through a wall of flames that separates Purgatorio and Paradiso. He is very scared and hesitates a lot, but Virgil convinces him to cheer up and be brave, because, once he is through this obstacle, he will finally see Beatrice. When Dante passes through the flames, he falls asleep. He wakes up the following morning ready to start his journey through Paradiso. They approach the banks of the river Lethe, and suddenly, Virgil disappears, and instead Beatrice appears in front of the protagonist. He is devastated by the loss of his friend and grieves. Beatrice is portrayed as Dante's guide through Purgatorio. She is very knowledgeable, a little strict, and obviously believes in the good in Dante. She believes that this trip will save his soul and grant him salvation. She is a personification of divine knowledge, wisdom, and good, righteous judgment. Dante confesses to Beatrice all of his sins. She judges him for them and expresses her disappointment in this quote. A woman named Matilda washes them off in the river Lethe when Dante falls asleep. When he wakes up, Beatrice tells him that he can proceed under one condition: he has to write about everything he sees in Paradiso when he returns to Earth. Then, Matilda submerges Dante in the river Uno, which makes him ready to ascend to heaven alongside Beatrice. Paradiso consists of 9 spheres. The first sphere is of the moon. Beatrice explains to Dante the structure of the universe. She says that the moon is the home for souls that broke their vows. Their words lacked courage and cannot be trusted. The second sphere is of Mercury. There, Dante and Beatrice meet Justinian, who explains the history of ancient Rome. This sphere is situated too close to the sun. It represents those who did good deeds for fame and glory. The third sphere is of Venus. There, Dante encounters Charles Martel of Anjou. He talks to Dante about the importance of societal diversity and improving its function by the inclusion of people with different backgrounds. The fourth sphere is the sphere of the sun. There, Saint Thomas, along with another 11 souls, explain to Dante the importance of not judging hastily and being aware of prudence. The fifth heavenly sphere is Mars. It has to do with warriors who died for their faith and God. There, Dante meets Cacciaguida, who tells him about the noble past of Florentines, and Dante's mission in delivering all the knowledge he has gained on his journey to Florence and its citizens. The sixth sphere is of Jupiter. It is a place of kings who display justice. A giant eagle speaks to Dante of divine justice and the rulers of the past, such as Constantine and Trajan. The seventh level of heaven is the sphere of Saturn. It is dedicated to those who live by temperance and pray vigorously all their lives. He witnesses people who climb up and down a golden ladder. Here, Dante meets Saint Peter Damian, who lectures him on corruption of clergy and predestination. They discuss the moral decline of the Institute of Church. The eighth level is called the fixed stars. Here, Dante and Beatrice find the Virgin Mary and other biblical characters, such as Adam, John, Peter, and James. They explain to Dante the complexities of heaven and Eden. The ninth sphere is known as the premium mobile. It is controlled by God specifically and therefore affects all the lower spheres accordingly. It is the place where angels live. Beatrice explains to Dante the story of the creation of the universe and angels' lives. They slowly ascend to Empyrean, the highest place in heaven. Once they get there, Dante becomes covered in light, and it allows him to see God and the Holy Trinity. After his journey has ended, Dante realizes that God's love is eternal. He now fully understands the mystery of incarnation. The answer is blessed upon Dante by God's hand, and now he fully grasps the complete picture of the world.
To the summary of Dante's Divine Comedy. In Dante's Inferno, he finds himself lost in the forest and realizes that he has died. So Virgil helps him on his journey, accompanying him throughout Inferno and Purgatorio. He encounters the horrors happening within Inferno and goes through the 9 circles of it. So we will take a closer look at each of the circles of hell and determine their specifics and differences. So as well as look at the Dante's Inferno, Satan himself, Purgatorio is a part of the Divine Comedy in which Dante and Virgil travel through the 7 terraces of the mountain. So each of them representing a deadly sin. In Paradiso, the main character, with the guidance of his beloved Beatrice, travel through the 9 celestial spheres of heaven. So as opposed to Inferno and Purgatorio in the last part of the poem, the protagonist encounters virtues, not sins. So that would be all. Thank you.